Jim Loeffler, CPA, CFE, MBA, and founder of InTune Business Advisors, where for more than 20 years, we've helped owners transform their manufacturing businesses into financial freedom through superior business valuation, growth, and exit planning services. Today, I want to tackle normalization adjustments. And what are normalization adjustments? Well, they're not something you do to your crazy uncle at Thanksgiving. No, normalization adjustments are simply adjustments that you make to your financial statements to strip out any unusual or non-recurring items, such as excess owner compensation, owner perks such as company cars, country club dues, etc. They could also be one-time expenses such as litigation or legal expenses that you're not expected to incur on a regular basis. They could also be maybe a one-time revenue contract that you're not expected to renew, or that was just, it happened in 1 year and it has not recurred. So I'm going to take you through an example with Vandelay Industries, and I'm going to talk about how you make these adjustments and why they're important and how they're used by business buyers and sellers. Let's go.
Okay. Well, we are back to our favorite latex manufacturer and importer of latex and latex-related products, Vandelay Industries. And what I'm showing here across the top is their unadjusted EBITDA for the last 5 years. Now, EBITDA simply stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. I'm not going to dwell a whole lot on EBITDA right now, but suffice to say that it is a measure of profitability that a lot of folks in the M&A community really pay attention to. And we're going to start there. And we are looking at EBITDA here. As you can see across the top, it's unadjusted. But Vandelay's got a lot of noise in these earnings. And this is where we need to normalize this EBITDA so that Vandelay's earnings are more comparable with those of its peer group in its industry. So we're going to start by looking at excess owner's compensation. And we took a look at industry averages for owner compensation, and we discover that Art Vandelay is taking out a whole lot more in terms of his compensation than his peers. And so we're simply adding back $250,000, $275,000, and so on to EBITDA, because this is a discretionary amount that a prospective buyer is not necessarily going to take out himself or herself. So that's one adjustment. Very similarly, Art pays his wife, Belinda Vandelay, a salary of about $100,000, $125,000 a year. So we're going to add that back, along with the payments that the company makes for the Vandelay's 2 Cadillacs that they lease. So we're adding back all the lease payments plus expenses, gas, maintenance, etc. The Vandelays also have a country club membership at Del Boca Vista in Florida, and we are adding back not only the country club dues, but also any golf and restaurant or entertainment expenses. We're going to add those back. Vandelay also earned about $1 million from a one-time government contract for latex for the U.S. Army. And in talking with Art Vandelay, he said, yeah, that was a one-off. We kind of fell into that contract, and it really did us some good, obviously. But we're going to subtract that profit from EBITDA because a prospective owner is not going to expect to realize that going forward. And then the last adjustment is litigation. In talking with Art Vandelay, they were in a protracted litigation with Pennypacker Latex Company, and we're going to simply add back all of the legal and related litigation costs, including settlement, to the bottom line. And so when you come right down to it, you see the total normalization adjustments. Sometimes they're going to net to the good, other times they'll be negative, but ultimately we want to add these net normalization adjustments to the unadjusted EBITDA so that we can normalize EBITDA. Okay, and that's what we're showing here. But having done that, this is only the first step, because while we can see directionally how these adjustments are affecting EBITDA, that really doesn't tell us a whole lot more. So how do we use this? Well, we're going to look at EBITDA margins, which is simply EBITDA divided by revenues. So here's Vandelay's revenues for the last 5 years, and I'm simply dividing EBITDA by revenue. So in the first case, we're going to look at the unadjusted EBITDA margin, which is simply their unadjusted EBITDA of $1,776,000 divided by 18.6 million. And that yields a margin of 9.5%. Now, when we take that same calculation and we use normalized EBITDA and divide that by the same sales figure, well, their normalized EBITDA is 13.6%. And the important point here is, how does that compare to the industry? Well, you can see here that Vandelay has pretty much outperformed the industry over the last 5 years. Now, there are a couple of points where it just fell short, but you can see that a prospective buyer is going to do this. They're going to ask for the normalization adjustments so that they can make an apples to apples comparison of how your company performed versus your peer group in your industry. Okay? This is a great exercise to go through periodically if you're looking to sell your business. And even if you're not looking to sell your business, to understand, how does my company stack up against the competition when I take all of this noise out, when I take all the one-time charges, the non-recurring items, my discretionary income, salaries, etc. How does that stack up? And how is my performance versus that of the industry? The other thing that it allows you to do is it provides a baseline for projections going forward, so that if you were to project and say, what does my company look like going into the future? And you're obviously going to want to strip out all of the P&L noise, all the income noise, but also all the balance sheet noise, right? And so you could have normalization adjustments on the balance sheet as well. But for this example, we're just going to stick to the income statement. And a buyer, a prospective buyer, is going to do the same thing when they look at either challenging your projections or formulating their own. They're going to want to say, give us a clean slate here. Take all the noise out so that we can understand what we would expect performance to be going forward. So that is why normalization adjustments are so important, and this is how we use them, and I hope that helps. So I will see you on the next one.
If you're planning on buying a manufacturing business, or if you're planning on selling your manufacturing business in the next few years or even in the next decade, click the link below to schedule a free call with me. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Remember, you know your business better than we ever will. Let's make sure you get a great price so that you can enjoy the financial freedom you deserve. I'm Jim Loeffler. Get the insight, get the value, get in tune.